Hello, this is Jamie Magrich. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card. It's a pretty simple card. It's basically simple stamping, except I added a die cut on top. But I'm using Friends Are Like Seashells. I'm using this stamp and this one. The stamp and this one. It's got some nice sentiments, but I'm choose just a simple card to say hello, so I'm using that from Sending Smiles. Okay, and then the banner is from the Stylish Shapes dies. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move that. So let's get started here. And the only cardstock I need, I have a scrap to stamp my sentiment on, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 inch piece of white, a thick card base, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored and folded at 4 1/4. So let's bring in a scratch paper. Well, this one's kind of nasty, but let's fold it and see if that'll work. Okay. The only inks I'm using Starry Sky, Orchid Oasis, and Tahitian Tide ink. Okay, I'm going to start with this stamp here and Starry Sky ink. Actually, let's start with the big shell, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to ink this big shell up with the Starry Sky. I'm going to stamp that over here, this area here. Okay, then I'm going to bring in that little leaf. I'm going to start at the bottom of the card. I'm going to stamp, and then without re-inking, I'm going to move it up and stamp again, or down, whatever. And I'm going to vary the distance that I'm stamping. So some of them I'm going to do higher, some of them I'm going to do lower. And it's okay if you overlap. And once in a while you might want to go like too high like that. And it might look messy, but you're gonna basically fill in this whole bottom, so okay, now I'm gonna wash this off. I'm just gonna use my chamois. I'm going to go into the Orchid Oasis, and I'm going to close this so I don't accidentally stamp in it. Or so if my cat walks up here, it doesn't step in it. I'm going to do the same thing with the Orchid Oasis. Now this color is very similar to the stamped off version of the Starry Sky. Okay, now I'm going to wash it off again. Excuse me. All of a sudden I'm hoarse. It's so dry in here. Now I'm going to bring in the Tahitian Tide. I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm also bringing this down and filling in any spaces in the bottom. so there's no white spaces along this very edge. Okay, so that's that part of stamping. Now I'm going to bring in the Starry Sky again, and I'm going to bring in that sentiment. First I'm going to bring in a scrap paper. I'm going to go ahead and stamp it on the scrap paper. Make sure I have enough room to cut it out. I think I do. Yep. Okay. Put that aside for a minute. Bring this in. I'm going to do one up here. It's hanging off a little bit. That's fine. A little bit closer here. I think my shell's this way a little bit more. Okay, one's going to go right here, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp it, but I'm going to put my other one right on top of it, and this one will go over here. Okay, let's close up this ink. Let's bring in our die cutting machine and cut that sentiment out. Okay, so I need the base plate, one 2 plate, my paper with the die on it. I'll center that up. Another 2 plate. Crank it through. Oops. Let's get started. There we go. And we have that. Okay. Now we can assemble this card. I'm going to bring in that foam mat so I have some contrast so you can actually see what I'm doing. Bring in the piece that I stamped. And I'm just going to use the Tombow liquid glue. You could use your tape runner, whatever glue you choose. A little bit of glue on it. I'm going to center that on the card base. Now it's just going to have the tiniest little edge because it's only like a 1/16 of an inch smaller than the front of the card. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in some foam dots for the sentiment. I'm just going to put one on each end. And this is going to go right here over that one that we stamped there. I just stamped that for a placement. Actually, the first time I stamped it and then I didn't like it, so that's why I came up with the strip. And to finish it off, I'm bringing in glossy dots assortment. I'm going to use these blue ones. Not quite the same color, but they're pretty close. So I'm going to take up the big one, if I can get it off, and put it down here. The middle one's going to go up here. Well, there's a spot there, so I'm going to put it on that spot. And a little one over here. There we go. There's the card we just made together. Here's the one I did previously. Well, thank you so much for joining me today at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.